found yourself feeling a little guilty, a little tart every time you go to do something for yourself that doesn't include your kids or doesn't include your husband, which for the most part it's related to our kids, or anytime you go to buy something for yourself and you're like, well, I got to buy something for them because if I bought something for myself, I got to justify it with buying something for them. If you found yourself feeling those things, this episode has 3 different ways that you can overcome this guilt, move past it, and into a place where you see yourself and the time that you spend for yourself, the money that you spend for yourself, just as important as time and the money and the things that you do with your kids. So let's get into it. If you are new here, hello and welcome to the Chats with Chastity podcast. I'm your host, Chastity. I am a mother and a wife and a therapist, and I have a very full life, as do you. But my mission is to help you be able to be more intentional with your time and your mind as you navigate this so that you can fulfill the passion and the purpose that you are supposed to do. Fulfill, whichever way you're supposed to say it. So let's talk about this. So I see mom guilt, right? We have a very popular term that's come about in the last, I don't know, decade. Don't quote me on that. But mom guilt as this fear of disconnection. At the root of it, that's really what it is. It's a fear of missing out on an event that might happen when you are away, when you do something for yourself and you don't do it for your kids, that in some way that is going to impact the connection that you have with them. It's going to impact their even perspective of you. Or my kid's going to think that I don't love them, or I'm not here for them, or am I selfish because I kind of want to be in my room this morning and I don't want to be downstairs watching y'all eat cereal. Like, what is happening when mom guilt happens is this fear. And the more you realize that that's what's happening on the surface, the more it will just put you in a position to combat it, because guilt thrives off of affirmation. The more you confirm to guilt, you're right. I'm not a good mom if I leave my kids for more than 2 or 3 hours. I'm not good at this whole balancing act if I have to step away and work a little bit more on the weekend because I have a big project coming up at work. You're right. I'm not doing and fulfilling my duty as a wife and a mom if my kids are out having a good time and I stay behind because I needed just a little bit of rest, or I bought myself something and I ain't have, too much to buy for them. You're right, guilt. You're right. When you affirm and confirm for guilt that it is right, it's going to keep on coming back. And then what happens, unfortunately, is you stop prioritizing things that are important to you just for you, and you take on this approach that can be very dangerous. You take on this approach that as long as my family is good, I'm good. And the reason why I said that is dangerous is it can become this very sneaky codependency like dynamic. Okay. And, there's a lot of talk about generations before us who have developed these codependency relationship with their kids. Maybe it's you. And you're like, Coach, we are traumatized and we are trying to come up out of that. But a lot of times people don't set out to say, you know what? I'm going to be the type of mom, I'm going to be the type of parent that when my kids go to do something that doesn't include me, I'm going to make them feel bad about it. I don't think anybody just like wakes up and they're like, yeah. But I do think over time, they have made said sacrifices. And because they did not prioritize themselves or know how to combat or overcome those feelings of guilt for themselves, they then now feel indebted to you when you are faced with that decision. So you on this side, breaking the cycles that you're breaking, being able to say, you know what, I have this feeling that happens anytime I want to linger around at Target a little bit longer than I should. Anytime I have to take a work trip and it's more than the 24 hours that they told me it was originally going to be. Anytime I just need a little bit more extra rest than I typically do, I'm going to work through my feelings and do said thing anyway, right? Now, I'm not saying that you never spend time with your kids, obviously, because you're not saying that either. That's not who you are. That's not the culture that you're trying to build within your family system. And you won't get there. Don't think that you know, one little time away, 1 little hour, 2 little hours even, or even just one day out of the month is going to completely corrupt and disconnect you from your kids and your family. That is a lie. And if you succumb to that lie, then you might end up in the position to where you're looking at your kids later on in life like, I sacrificed all my time for you, and my happiness was dependent on your happiness and your comfortability. So now that you're older, you ought to be doing the same for me, right? We're not doing that. We're not doing that, okay? So prioritizing and working through those feelings when they come to and saying back to it, that is not true. I will always be connected with my children. I will always ensure, right, that overall mistakes will happen, but overall I'm building the culture that I want within my family, and that is not exclude me as a person. I'm a part of this equation. My health, my well being is a part of this equation. So, the first thing I want you to think about, well, that's the first thing, right? But the second thing I want you to think about is quality versus quantity. Because typically we think like if I'm with them, like in their presence, they can see me, I can see them, or I'm upstairs and, they can hear me and I can hear them. If I'm in the house, like in general, right? If I'm around, then that means I'm being present, which isn't always true because you can be present but be doing this. Guilty. I'm guilty as charged. It's okay. And for y'all listening to the podcast, I was scrolling on my phone. Guilty as charged. So we can't think that just because our body is in the same place as our kids, that means it's better, right? More time, our body being in the same space, more of that does not mean better. So when we focus on quality time with our kids, then the quantity becomes something that's second nature. Now, I'm not saying, again, that we don't want to spend time with our kids and we don't want to spend time at home because that's not who you are. That's not what you're worrying about. But the quality, when you do spend time with your kids, is what I want you to focus on. And quality time looks like that true presence, right? When you're able to put your phone down and have that boundary with work or maybe even other people to say, between these hours, coach, my kids got my attention. Between these hours, coach, my husband got my attention. Between these hours, this belongs to my nuclear. Oh no, nuclear. Okay, I'm sorry. This belongs to my family. I cannot get it out. But this belongs to my family, okay? And using that time and being intentional with that time and saying, my phone does not have this time, a call, work, whatever. It does not have this time, right? This belongs to my family. And you can also ensure with, being present, doing things that involve the family. Like I know, we will gather around the TV sometimes and we'll watch a good show together. And my family loves to do that. Every Friday night, we have a movie night where we bring out snacks and we select a movie and they get a chance to, select the movie of the night. And it's a very fun and it's a very family centric thing that we do every Friday. But that's Friday, girl. It's 6 other days in the week. So what other times, throughout the week are we creating this? Like, I'm getting into their world, which their world when they're young is play, right? I'm getting into their world when they're older. We don't have to cross that bridge when we get there, but getting into their world and inviting them to get into ours, those more family moments. It could be something simple as like everyone sits at the table and we eat and we're not on our phones and we pass the plate like they used to do. We do all the things in that setting, and that's our routine, that's our connection, that's our family time. You might be thinking, well, Chastity, what if that's the very thing I'm gonna miss? What if I miss a movie night? What if I miss a dinner? You're telling me that one dinner, one family night is going to disconnect the family system? You see what I mean? Don't fall for it. It's okay to miss one, two here and there. But overall, when you zoom back and you're looking at the quality of the time that you're spending, do they have your full and undivided attention? I'm not saying every day because that sometimes is impossible. Sometimes your attention is divided, right? Because you're trying to pay this bill, you're trying to figure out the party that's happening on at school. Why do they have so many parties at school? But anyways, you sometimes your attention will be divided. But being intentional about the times where it's not, that quality, that is what is going to matter. And then lastly, I would say just being upfront about all of the emotions or the feelings that you're having. I have work days that sometimes spill over into the weekend, right? Saturdays in the morning, mommy has to work. Mommy has to have I this time where she is focused. She's not, disrupted by other things that are happening on. And I use that time to get some work done. Yes, it's a Saturday and my kids are at home and my husband is at home. But in this season, this is what is required of me. Am I exuberant and happy about that? No. But do I feel guilty or like, oh my gosh, I'm messing up my family? My kids gonna think I was never at home or I love work more than I love them? No, because what's happening on Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm with them. I am theirs, right? And so, again, thinking about that and zooming out, but talking about it with my kids to say, mommy has to work. I know. I'm going to be away from you. I won't be down there with you. I won't be able to go to the store with you. But when you get back, you can get a chance to tell me all about it. Or when I get back, I can't wait to give you the juiciest hug, like talking it out and exposing those feelings, exposing the complexities of it that comes up. I think it takes the edge off. And you're just like, yeah, two things can coexist at the same time. I can be excited to go on this work trip, go to this girl's trip, be out the house, be in my room all day, whatever it is that you need and you have set up in your life. I can be excited about that and miss my kids. I can be iffy about having to do, be out and away from my kids at a certain point in time, but also very excited to get home to them. And you can tell them that, right? You can have those discussions. And, I we foster a culture of honesty in our household. Sometimes my kids are like, Mom, why are you working? And I'm like, well, dang, you got like I work 24/7. I don't work 24/7, but that's her words, right? So then I get to talk about it. Well, how you go to school, and you know how you play, and you know how you have these things going on. I don't always get to see a whole lot of that when you're at school, but I know that when you're away, those are the things that you're doing. And just like mommy, my work is very important to me. And some of my work feels like play. It feels very fun. It feels like my passion. And so it's important to me that I get those things done, even if I have to be away from you, right? So explaining and opening a conversation up so that they have language to put to it as well. Because, sometimes our kids will say things and it'll hurt us. It'll hit that little heart center. You're like, you know what? Forget that work trip. I'm staying home with my kids. But again, we have to step back and we have to look at the full picture, right? What's happening in your life? Is it important to you? In a lot of ways, you do need time and things that are just your own so that you have an identity that's not attached to just the roles that you have within your family. They are huge, important, pinnacle roles that are deeply a part of your identity, but it's not the only thing that makes you who you are, right? So having that time to carve out and invest in that is very important. Well, I hope today has been helpful. And if you have found yourself in this kind of guilt of like, what is happening with my life? And you want to get out of this space, I again hope that it was helpful. But also, sometimes we need to just reset the system. We need to reset our priorities, what's important to us, how to manage those emotions that keep us in the way of fulfilling things that we want to do. So, I created this reset plan. It is a workbook style guide that's going to help you be able to identify those things exactly and come out on the other end more intentional, less anxious, less overwhelmed in your life as you balance being a working mom and doing all the things, but you can come together and have a more systematized, prioritized, intentional life. So you can get that in the description wherever you are tuning in. And I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, peace in, peace out.